Hey guys. Okay, so today we're going to answer the question, how long does a DA take? When you ask this question, more often than not, you're going to be met with the answer of how long is a piece of string? Everyone always says that because there is so many different variables that come into play when determining how long an application will take. First and foremost, what type of application are you proposing? Are you talking something like a small house extension, like a pool, an above ground pool in TBC, or a double width carport on a small lot, or a gatehouse in TBC, something like that? Or are you talking a 500 lot subdivision, a North Lake style subdivision? Obviously, one of those things could be weeks, the other thing can be years. Very different proposals. Also, performance outcomes. So what performance outcomes are you seeking? How many performance outcomes are you seeking? How far are you seeking to push those performance outcomes? So when it comes to small lots, as an example, are we just talking, hey, reducing the side setback from 1 metre to 90 centimetres? Or are we talking going 1 metre to 0 allotment plus a 32 metre building length instead of 25 metre building length plus a 70% site cover instead of 50% site cover, etc., etc. Obviously, the more performance outcomes you have and the further you push those performance outcomes, the longer it is going to take for an assessment process. Next, plans. And I mentioned this in last week's video. If you can provide really town planner friendly plans, so really easy to read plans, it is going to help speed up the assessment process. Next is neighbours. So if you have letters of support from the neighbours, as opposed to at the other extreme, virile neighbours that are constantly in council's business complaining about the proposal, that is going to be two very different outcomes in terms of timing. Periods, so time periods or peak periods. Are you lodging at Christmas time or end of financial year when council's got that influx of applications hitting their desk? Or are you lodging at like a quieter point in time? Or what was the other thing I was going to say? Designer availability. So like if your designer sits there and goes, hey, I can turn the plans around or the amendments around within 1 or 2 days, or are they likely to be backed up for 4 weeks in advance or on holidays for 4 weeks and one of those things? So yeah, there is so many different variables that come into play in determining how long an application is going to take. As a guide though, very simply, we generally say for a really simple sort of house application, something that's only pushing a few little boundaries, you might be talking maybe 1 month, 1 to 2 months. Most of our jobs probably sit around that 2 to 3 months. So most of the jobs that we have these days are inevitably pushing a handful of different boundaries or requirements. If you're pushing one of those super contentious, let's just say, issues like height or something like that, you might be looking at 4 to 5 months. Generally speaking, we won't lodge a housey application if we think it's going to take more than 6 months, because it just isn't worth it. Like, we don't deal with those $12 million mansions on Hamilton Hill and all of that sort of stuff. We're not working that price point where people are happy to spend 12 months fighting for their ultimate outcome or happy to go through court to get the ultimate outcome. The proposals we tend to work on, like I said, most of the time, 2 to 3 months is what you're sort of looking at. Now, people inevitably always go, why does it take so long? There is so many different reasons or factors again that come into play, but the number one answer is resources. The reality is that we as an industry, so when I say we, I'm talking the homeowners, the developers, everyone who lodges applications, don't pay enough money to allow council to add more team members and speed up the process. So, and everyone always goes, but hold on a sec, I'm paying thousands of dollars. That's a lot of money. Stop and think about it. You've got the admin team, you've got the council town planner or the assessment manager who basically manages the whole process. You've then got the assessment team. The assessment team normally as a base involves the architect and the engineer, but it can involve like a pollution officer, a landscape architect, traffic specialist, waste management specialist. Like, there is so many different mouths to feed along this chain of assessment. And if you're doing a proposal that requires a lot of reassessments, so there's a negotiation going on, though, that whole team has to re-look at things over and over again. That money gets chewed up very quickly. So yeah, despite popular opinion, we don't pay a lot of money to council to allow them to put on the extra team members and therefore speed it up. Also, you've got to understand or got to keep in mind that society, the way the whole town planning process works is you generally go a university to council to private industry. It is very rare for people to go the other direction. So to go private industry back to council. And that is a reflection, again, of the fact that the private industry can afford to pay more. Like, I think back to my council days, I think when I started, so I went straight from uni to council, I followed the typical path. I think I was earning like 40 or 50 grand. And the minute I changed to private industry, so I was approached and offered a job, I went up to like 70 grand or something like that. So it is a significant jump in terms of income when you go from council to private. Council can't compete with those rates. So council, yes, can offer the better lifestyle, work-life balance, all of that sort of stuff, but they can't offer the money that people can get in the private industry. As a result, the resource pool that council has to tap into is typically the newbies, let's just call it. So like I said, exactly like myself, people who have just fresh come out of uni, who aren't super efficient, who can't hit the ground running and churn. There is a lot of time spent building up those team members, and therefore that adds to delays and all that sort of stuff. There is a bucket load of other reasons, but that's probably the key reason, I'd say. And I do think that the DA team, the management team in there at the moment, are making inroads, or they're starting to improve things, and they're definitely on the right path there. I have to give them massive credits or props for that. But just inherently, the way the industry is in terms of resources, how we value that sort of role, I guess, the amount of money we're prepared to pay, all of that sort of stuff, is always going to handcuff them. They're always going to be limited in what they can achieve. So yeah, hopefully that gives you some insight as to how long things take and what factors play into how long things take and why things move a little bit slowly, I guess you'd say. That covers off everything I wanted to say today. As I always say, until next time, thanks for watching.
For all you red tape lovers out there, I have one thing to say. Well, no, actually, I've got three. Number one, the advice provided in these videos is general in nature. It's not site-specific. You would be a silly Billy to go and make financial decisions based on this advice without first checking with the town planner. Don't be a silly Billy. Number two, Brisbane Town Planning is in no way linked to Brisbane City Council. The views expressed in these videos are my own, not council's. So if you don't like them, blame me, not council. Number three, what was my number three? Oh yeah, the views expressed in these videos are accurate at the time of recording. If you're watching this video back 10 years from now, the views may not be so accurate. That's all. Bye.